Boston College has not beaten Notre Dame in 17 years. The Eagles will need to play near perfect football if they want to beat the Fighting Irish on Saturday.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I am your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. If you want Boston College news and analysis, you are in the right place. Locked On BC is a free Boston College podcast available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's show, we're going to start kicking off Notre Dame week. We have an interesting potential injury update. Grayson James versus Dylan Lonergan again in the Holy War. Can Boston College finally end their 17-year drought? Let's kick it off with that discussion. Now, Saturday, BC at 3:30 will play the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the latest edition of the Holy War. Now, if you have been a BC fan, you know all about this. You know the history of Boston College and Notre Dame. It has a rich history with David Gordon and his amazing kick in 92, Anthony Gonzalez with a touchdown, Richie Gunnell getting in a fight, all this good stuff in between. There's been many, many great moments in this rivalry. BC, Notre Dame, they're the only two Catholic universities in the entire FBS. And, you know, you go back all the way back to the 40s, you have the Frank Leahy departure, all that good stuff. This is a big-time rivalry. And there was a point where BC was playing incredibly close games against Notre Dame. I mean, even during the latest losing streak, BC has played some close games. But it has seemed like these two programs have gone in opposite directions since 2008. You've had Notre Dame make, a hire with Brian Kelly and then moving on to Marcus Freeman, and they are a perennial playoff contending team. They're one of the best teams in the country. They were in a national championship game just a few years ago. They're playing as well as it can get. Then you have Boston College, who, has not been more than 500 since 2008. And when they play against each other, there has been, some games that are close-ish, but you never feel like BC really has a chance. And that's the bummer of this series, is because this for a long time felt special. It felt like a series that, you could rely on, that would be some really good games, and BC could sneak in and maybe make a surprise win. But I just looked at ESPN's FPI Plus, and they have Notre Dame as a 97.8% chance of winning this game. For context, Boston College had a 98.6% chance to beat Fordham. So this, according to FPI is about as close to a sure slam dunk win for Notre Dame. And that's depressing, because you never want to go into a game like this and feel like BC never has a chance. But I got to be real with you. It's felt like this every time they've played. The last time they played, BC lost 44-0 in that Snow Bowl game in 2022. And hey, guess what? The last time BC played them in 22, BC had a bad football team again. This was, it seems like BC has landed a game against Notre Dame when they're always down. 2022, 2015, that was the game at Fenway. Like, the last three really bad BC football seasons have all included Notre Dame. And that's going to happen again on Saturday. As I said, 98% chance to lose this game. If you go to FanDuel right now, obviously one of our great sponsors of our show, they have them as like last I checked, 29-point favorite. That's 4 touchdowns. And I don't blame them. Now, I had picked Louisville to win by 35 points. And to BC's credit, they held on in that game. This game, it's going to be tougher because you have a good running back. I'm not sure if Isaac Brown from Louisville is a better fit to beat up BC or Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love is transcendent, so that's hard to say. But they also have weapons all over the place. You look at their defense, it's 40th in the country in points allowed, but they've got lockdown cornerbacks. They've got a really, really good defensive line. You know, on the offensive side of the ball, you go back to the Virginia game last year. Who beat you? It was Malachi Fields. He's on Notre Dame now. He was the guy that beat Ashton McShane in the end zone for that big touchdown. You got CJ Carr, their quarterback, who's starting to figure things out. You look at Notre Dame's record, they have 2 losses, but who did the losses come to? They came against Miami, who probably still is the favorite to win the ACC, and against Texas A&M, who is arguably the favorite right now to win everything. Like, they're the best team in the country. So they are not a bad team at all. This is not a team that you should sleep on. The fun part is they've got a bunch of players that are from Massachusetts too, who are obviously looking forward to coming back and playing. Gerby Lambert, who we talked about many times on the show as a BC potential recruit from Catholic Memorial. He ended up there. You have Boubacar Traore, who leads the team in sacks. I believe he's from Catholic Memorial. He's over there. So there's a big connection there. And the funny thing with this whole game is how big it is. Like right now, if you went on Game Time and tried to buy tickets to the UConn game, you could have got into that game with fees for like $7 a ticket. This game, right now, I just looked at Game Time. The cheapest price is $140. My biggest question is, how many of those tickets that are sold out are Notre Dame fans? Because I'm going to guess quite a few. I'm also going to guess quite a few BC fans are flooding the secondary market with their tickets, because you could go watch BC as a 29-point underdog, or you could sell those tickets to Notre Dame fans and go out for a very nice dinner for the same thing. What are people going to choose? Now, I have to say that the Louisville game, I had no faith in BC. They showed me something in that game. They showed heart. They showed that they didn't give up. They showed that they didn't quit. And they showed some really good gumption when I didn't think they had it in them. And that's a credit to the staff. That's credit to the players. They look great at times. Obviously, they went up 500 yards of offense. That's not good. But this game means a lot to Boston College. Part of me wonders about this game. If we see BC pull something out of themselves to make this a fun game. Notre Dame is not perfect. They're not a perfect team. They make mistakes. Could this be the type of game Boston College finds something that second or third gear where we saw in the first half of that Louisville game, where they don't let Notre Dame get on the field and they drag out the game with long drives and limit the amount of possessions Notre Dame has and eliminate some of those mistakes? Because if BC can run the ball and keep their offense on the field, it makes the game a heck of a lot closer. We saw that in the first half. So there's a chance that if they could do that, they could keep this game entertaining. There's the other part of me that goes, with what we've seen, this team's going to run all over them and it's going to be over fast. But I still have that inkling that something could happen here. It's the Holy War. 92 was not easy, and they came out there and they beat him. Could something weird happen here? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Now, in a moment, on Tuesday, Bill O'Brien talked about the quarterback situation, and it looks like we have a big question mark. Again, I'll explain what that means in just a moment. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Tough Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. And you can make every drive feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And with all-wheel drive, standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost every season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. The Charitable Irish Society has been part of Boston's history since 1737, making it the oldest Irish society in the Americas. With deep ties to Boston College, its leaders and members continue a proud tradition of service. Today, the society is living its mission, raising thousands of dollars each year to help immigrants in need, Irish and non-Irish alike. Last year, the support helped a family from Northern Ireland who faced a medical crisis and couldn't help cover rented bills. You can be part of that impact. Membership is just $75 a year, and it goes directly to helping families when they need it most. And mark your calendar, the annual Silver Key Dinner is coming up October 29th at the UMass Club honoring Archbishop Henning. Get your tickets for the annual Silver Key Dinner and join the Charitable Irish Society today at www.charitableirishsociety.org. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. Thank you to all my everydayers, all my everyday listeners. If you're an everydayer, shoot it out in the comment section. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you that have made Locked On Boston College the first listen every morning. That whether you listen to Locked On Boston College while you're running on the treadmill or going to work, thank you all who have made us part of your daily routine. Now, on Tuesday, Bill O'Brien met with the media again and talked a little bit about the Notre Dame game and how much respect he had. And he mentioned one thing, and I got to do some research on this. He mentioned that he was hired by Notre Dame a long time ago and worked for them for 48 hours. I got to look up what that was because I don't know. I've never heard that before, but that was really interesting. But he was talking about it, and the first question he got was for Saturday's game, who's going to be the starting quarterback? Is it Grayson James or TBD? He said TBD. There's a lot of he elaborated saying there's a lot of things going into it right now. Not all of them are on performance, but right now it's between me and the team and it's TBD. So that again, this is for the third, fourth, fifth time. We are now back down to Grayson James or Dylan Lonergan or option 3, Shaker Rising. I think it's really the first two though. And going into this game, obviously your incumbent from the last two games is Grayson James. Grayson James has had his ups and downs. He's looked good, especially the first half of that Louisville game. He was running well. He had the offense clicking. He struggled in the second half, but he also then got hurt. And at the end of the game, the offense just really kind of wasn't able to click under him. Dylan Lonergan, again, started the season off really well, and then he kind of hit a wall and then was replaced by James. So the big question now is, who should be the starting quarterback? And there's a few factors. And as Bill said, one of the factors we will not know about is the injury status of Grayson James. We don't know how badly he got hurt. He was limping at one point. He also, at the end of the game, he looked like he was okay afterwards, but man, he got like suplexed hard on his shoulder. So hopefully that's okay too, because that looked like it hurt. But if he's hurt, if he can't run, then the answer is pretty simple. You need to go to Dylan Lonergan. Because Grayson James, the piece that makes him effective is his legs. His ability to run the football makes him three-dimensional. It makes him multi-faceted in terms of how he can run that offense. It gives him something that Dylan Lonergan can't do, is he can run the football. And they were doing a lot of RPOs and quarterback keeps, and it was keeping the offense moving. So if he's hurt and can't run, you got to go back to Lonergan there. But if James is at the spot where he can play, I would go with Grayson James here. And here's why. As I said, you need to do many different things as you can to Notre Dame. Because that defense is very good. If you just line up back there and try to run inside and outside and then try to throw a few passes, they're going to eat you alive. But if you throw in a few wrinkles, whether it's quarterback runs, RPOs, whatever it is that this offense needs to do that they can do under Grayson James, but they can't do under Lonergan, that might be the reason why you start him. The other piece of why you should start Grayson James, there's two pieces. One is he's a veteran. You need somebody out there. The big key with Lonergan is he's raw. Like, he has not had a ton of college snaps. That's just the realistic point of where he's at. He's picking things up, but when he played against Clemson, when he played against Pitt, he struggled when good defenses did things to him. I don't think throwing him to the Wolves is going to do him any favors. Putting James back there, who has played Nebraska. He has played Louisville. He has more experience. If you can, you throw him out there, because if you throw Lonergan out there and he's bad again and he really struggles again, you could risk shattering his psyche. And if he gets beaten up because the offensive line is struggling, and my goodness, the offensive line struggled against Louisville, you also risk the Djokovic factor. Boston College fans know exactly what I mean about that. When Djokovic got hurt, it was against UMass, and he got hurt a few other times too. His confidence went down the toilet. And I'm not saying this would happen with Lonergan. I don't know what he's like as a warrior, as a player. But I'm saying the risk that if you get him out there and that offensive line gets him killed, you could send him back 2 steps. And that is what I think is really worrisome. I think Grayson James can go out there and he can take those hits and he can at least try. He's probably going to be more effective moving the football. I think he's tougher to tackle than Lonergan. He can move the pocket. He can move and throw. You know, the short game is limited, yes, but maybe for this game, you need to get him out there because you need him. You hate to say this, but like you want him out there so he can take those lumps, because your future, Lonergan, may not be able to. You don't want him to have to bounce back from coming back after being benched 2 games to come back and just get killed by Notre Dame isn't going to do much for his development. It just really isn't. So that's my thought. Now, again, I go back to James's injury. We don't know what his injury is. It really looked like a leg thing. I don't know what was going on, but like later in the game, it looked like he was having trouble like moving and keeping one leg planted at different points. I hope he's okay. I really do. So this is a big one. And, my thought is if James goes out there and plays well, you continue starting him. But you have to get back to Lonergan at some point because he's your future, right? James is graduating in a couple months. Lonergan is, or maybe rising. I don't know where they're at with that, but you need to start when you're 1-7, you have no bowl games. You do 2 things, right? You want to reward your guys that have stuck around. So rewarding Grayson James is obviously a big deal because this guy did a whole ton for you last year. He's now come back and fought for you this year. Like, you want to reward him, but you also want to be able to push your team forward, get those snaps. We see it with the defense right now. The secondary at times have looked a lot better, and they're starting to start to get a little bit more rhythm with them. You want that at quarterback too. So that's a tough position. I don't know where Bill O'Brien's head is with this. As someone who just, observes and comments on the team, I would think you would want to get Lonergan back out there soon, but I don't know if that's against Notre Dame. I don't know if you want to wait to get to SMU, Georgia Tech. That's a question we'll have to wait to see. And again, it's TBD, so we'll have to wait to find out. I don't have any guesses. I don't have any insight into who's hurt and who's ready, but I think really if he's healthy, Grayson James should be the starter on Saturday. It's at the point where I don't know if anybody gives you a better chance to win, because really you're going from like one guy giving you like a 5% chance to win to another that gives you like an 8% chance to win. Like, just to be fair, like the team is just, there's other issues that don't involve the quarterback. But I think that James, a healthier James, one that can at least run the football confidently, would give you that better chance to win that football game. So that's who I would pick. Now, in our final segment, there was something interesting on social media that caught my eye, and I want to talk about that. And it's an injury of 2 injuries and maybe an update, and I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see what that means. I'll talk a little bit about who those are in just a moment. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. The swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, left, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Plus today at onepeloton.com. Wrapping things up here, Locked On Boston College. On tomorrow's show, you need to check this out. We're going to be with Tyler Washniak of Locked On Irish. We're going to do a crossover episode. We just did one with Louisville. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll talk a little bit of the Holy War with them. And if you're looking for a second listen, check out Locked On ACC with Alex Dono and Kenton Gibbs. They're talking all things Atlantic Coast Conference. You can check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, last week, Bill O'Brien spoke about the injury updates of certain players. As he was asked, he went down a list of, I think he went like 8 or 9 guys, because obviously Boston College is missing many of the guys that were starting at the beginning of the year. And he gave, and to Bill's credit, he talked a lot about them. We found out Bam Crouch is probably not coming back this year. Syed Torrance is gone. You found out Jude Bowery was going to be back. He played on Saturday. Eric Doherty missed Saturday. We knew all that going into that. But on Tuesday, if you followed BC football on Instagram, they put up practice pictures, which is ironic because they haven't done that in like a month. Ever since the losing streak has started, they've kind of gone quiet on social media with a lot of stuff, to the point where it's just like kind of like they're just doing the basics, trying to get through the season like we all are, right? Well, they put a couple pictures up, and it's all practice pictures. One of them was a wide receiver catching a football, and it clearly wearing number 1, it was Jaedn Skeet. I found this very interesting because O'Brien said last week, and maybe he just misspoke, that Skeet wasn't coming back in terms of the season. And maybe he just meant it was the Louisville game. But it clearly looked like Skeet was out there practicing. And again, practices are closed. We can't, media has no accessibility to any of that. But getting Jaedn Skeet back, that would be big. This is not a knock on Dawson Pugh. He's a true freshman. He only enrolled in the summer. But getting Skeet would be a huge bump because, as I said during the summer, Skeet was their best offensive player. He had and then he comes in and he scores 3 touchdowns in the first 2 games, then disappears. So getting him back would be huge, especially when you're playing Notre Dame, who is a good secondary. Because if you're playing Pugh, Harris, and Lewis Bond, the good corners can kind of lock down Bond and Harris, and then your other guys can work on Pugh. But if you put Skeet out there, you can kind of stretch them a little bit. So that would be a huge get. I don't know if he's going to play this weekend or not. He's still listed as 3rd on the depth chart. The fact that he's not removed from the depth chart, I think, is pretty interesting. But he's still on there. We'll have to wait to see what's going on with him. He's been listed as out since the Stanford game, so I don't know what his deal is. Now, the second picture, like clearly, I know what Jaedn Skeet looks like. I've seen him many times. That was clearly Jaedn Skeet playing. The second picture on their Instagram was, I'm 90% sure that was Amari Jackson. And that would make sense because Bill said last week that Amari Jackson wasn't going to play against Louisville, but he didn't rule him out for the season. So I'm curious. He had a blue cap on, which could be an injury thing. It could be no contact. The team has different things for those types of caps that he has on. But if you go to their Instagram, those 2 pictures are right up there. It looks like him. It looks like a 2 and a 4. And I know like Ferris is 14, like Townsend is like 18. Townsend and Cunningham are like 18 and 14. Max Tucker's 3. So it looks like you could definitely see a 2. So I'm thinking it's him. Not 100% sure. But getting those 2 back would be a really nice boost. That would get you much closer to what your team was supposed to be like. So I thought that was a really interesting thing to see. And if you go to BC Football's Instagram, they're both there. You can see for yourself, and maybe we'll find out when the injury report comes out. And we'll get more on that. And I'm sure Graham Dietz, I know, asked about, he put it up on Twitter. He's usually good about asking more follow-ups, so maybe he'll ask about that on Thursday too. So thank you all for joining us. Again, tomorrow we'll be joined by Locked On Irish. On Friday, we'll have Mitch on for our Halloween episode. It'll be a spooky episode of Locked On BC. I've been trying to get some things to go here, and hopefully it'll work. So stay tuned for that one. And follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky. I'm on all those if you want to get more info. And thank you all for making us your first listen every single day. My name's AJ, and I'll see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.